All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever the hell you're listening to this emergency pod. Welcome to a Saturday edition of the weekly recap show for the newly named P-Town Fantasy Football League. Hopping on here for an emergency pod, like I said, because I was fast asleep, being the 27-year-old man that I am, at 11 o'clock. And I got a call from Buttonwood kayakers, Riley, asking me about a trade. And I didn't really think too much of that trade. And I was ready to fall asleep and I didn't really know what I was saying. I was like, man, take the trade. And he's like, all right, Brad, go to sleep. I'm like, all right, no worries. Fine. So I wake up this morning to 103 messages. And I'm like, what the fuck happened last night? So the original trade that was going to be put through it was between Riley and Tyler. So Buttonwood kayakers and no Flockin. The original trade was going to be David Montgomery for Lazard. And the amount of reactions were all over the place. A lot of people had strong opinions one way or another. And ultimately, both teams thought that it would be a good trade because Riley needed to flex and Tyler needs a little bit of an uplift, right? So this trade ultimately wound out getting vetoed. But let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers real quick before we look at the new trade that was proposed. So we have David Montgomery, who was on Buttonwood kayakers, and over his last 3 games, he's currently listed as questionable, 47th ranked running back in the league, rostered in 93% of the leagues, starting in 8.2%, averages about 8.23 points per game, right? So over the last 3 weeks, he has 8 points against San Fran, 15.6 against Green Bay, and just 1.1 against Houston. So questionable to say the least, right? But let's go ahead and take a look at Lazard. Let me pull up Lazard here really quickly from No Flockin. Bear with me here. I don't have it fully pulled up. And it's important to note that Lazard is currently on No Flockin's bench, whereas Montgomery, I believe, was in the starting lineup for Buttonwood kayakers. So currently, Alan Lazard is ranked number 44 amongst wide receivers in the league. He's rostered in 68% of the leagues, starting in 18%, and averages 13.8 points per game. Now, if we go to the stats over the last couple games, week 1, 0 against Minnesota. Week 2 against Chicago, 9.3. Week 3 against Tampa Bay, he has 14.5. And week 4 against New England, 17.6. So you guys make of that what you will, but it seems to me that Lazard is on the come up here. And for No Flockin to trade away a potential wide receiver like that for questionable David Montgomery, I don't know. A little bit questionable, but nonetheless, that trade was vetoed because everybody in our fucking chat was all up in arms. Like I said, everybody, 100-something text messages I woke up to this morning. Absolutely disgusting. So now let me go back into the app real quick and look at the actual trade that was put through. I believe the trade that we have right now pending, which was accepted by the league and not vetoed, was David Montgomery for Terry McLaurin. So No Flockin still receives David Montgomery, super high on David Montgomery, I see. And Buttonwood is going to be getting wide receiver Terry McLaurin from the Washington football team, aka the Commanders, aka the Redskins. Let's take a look at Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is number 41 wide receiver rank out of everybody, rostered in 96% of the leagues, starting in 31.8. He averages 11.4 points per game. And let's go to his stats over the last couple of weeks. Week 1 against Jacksonville, 13.8. Week 2 against Detroit, 12.2. Week 3 against Philly, 16.2. Last week against Dallas, 3.5. So little bit, he was consistent the first couple weeks. Last week had a drop off, but Scary Terry has been consistent for Washington throughout the season. Still, I believe he's a top target for the Commanders over there. But either way, emergency pod had to hop on to talk about this trade. We had a veto trade late last night, came in probably around 2 a.m. And then we have a newly accepted trade between Buttonwood kayakers and No Flockin, which is David Montgomery going to No Flockin and Buttonwood kayakers receiving Terry McLaurin. So that is the emergency pod. Enjoy your college football Saturday for all of those who celebrate. Watch Florida State tonight against NC State. Good luck tomorrow in your games, everybody, and we'll be back on Tuesday.